All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. And living self-mastery is what we're going to be talking about today. We are reading from Dr. Wayne W. Dyer's Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life, Living the Wisdom of the Tao. And we've got it right here. And so far, as you can see, we are about halfway through. And this has been a really fun series, really a life-changing, wisdom-growing, personal developing, and self-mastering kind of series. And I really am looking forward to this reading today because self-mastery, I think, is one of the most important keys of living a higher quality of life through, an acquired understanding of how it is that we can begin to choose the direction and the moments, and how it is that we feel about the direction and the moments that we are choosing through our lives. And in turn, using all of this to create a higher quality of life, not only in our lives, but in the lives of those around us. So ladies and gentlemen, let's dive right into today's 33rd verse of the Tao Te Ching. I don't think I said it, but it's Tuesday, and you know what that means. Time to do the Tao now. Tuesday Tao, ladies and gentlemen. And then Wednesday Wisdom. Tomorrow we'll be reading from Wisdom of the Ages. And I'll guarantee we'll have a fantastic chapter and subject, study, lesson, wisdom, self-mastering. Because a lot of this for me comes down to the keys to manifesting, the keys to becoming a creator of your life, a co-creator with Source or the universe or Tao or God or whatever it is you want to call it, co-creating with the great universal intelligence and being able to create your life. I mean, simply put, and there is a way to do it when you see other people that have done it and you begin to manifest for yourself. Now, before I ramble anymore, let's dive right into the 33rd verse of the Tao Te Ching. One who understands others has knowledge. One who understands himself has wisdom. Mastering others requires force. Mastering the self needs strength. If you realize that you have enough, you are truly rich. One who gives himself to his position surely lives long. One who gives himself to the Tao surely lives forever. Wow, that's a fantastic one, ladies and gentlemen. It's really short, but really powerful. There's some of these verses that are a lot longer. One of them took up a whole page and a half, I believe. But this one is just a few lines, and it covers so much. The simplicity of one who understands others has knowledge. Like, think about it when you can look out, and instead of judging and, thinking that everybody should be the way that you think they should be, you kind of get in tune. You have a compassion or an empathy or a way to understand others and what it is that they're going through. There's a great, I believe it was a Native American saying that said something like, "Do not let me judge my neighbor before I have walked a moon in his shoes." Probably said moccasins. It was a great prayer. I liked it. It was a little bit longer than that, but it was the same idea. It was like, when we understand others, then we are on the path of knowledge. I will add in that, when you think you know everything, you know nothing. One who understands himself, though, then it goes into the most important thing, something that I'm thinking about often, is knowing thyself. And it's like, how do we do that? How do we go through the process of knowing thyself? Scotty Roberts on his YouTube channel and the Intrepid Radio program lately has been reading a book called The Meditations by Marcus Aurelius to himself. And the one from last or a couple days ago is just powerful, talking about this kind of stuff, knowing yourself. And so this verse was just in the second line. So this is how deep this verse was for me. One who understands himself has wisdom, which in comparison to knowledge, wisdom, I believe, is a much higher level. You can know something, but when you've become wise, there's a whole new, area. There's a whole new facet to the knowing. It's like a greater understanding. May be referred to as enlightenment. It's funny, wisdom of the ages is called 60 days to enlightenment. It depends what enlightenment means for you. But the other most important point, if you realize that you have enough, if you can be content with what it is that you have, and using comparison to those that are more fortunate than you makes this more difficult. Using comparison to those that are less fortunate to you makes this a little bit easier. But even then, you're going into judging. And so back to understanding others, having knowledge, and understanding ourselves, having wisdom. Mastering the self needs strength. And if you realize that you have enough, then you are truly rich. Because there are billionaires who are not finished. There are people who work mundane jobs, but are very happy because they feel like they have enough and they're satisfied. And, it can be the opposite, but on any end of the spectrum of financial well-being, how abundant you are, when you realize that you do, when you start having an abundance mindset and start thinking that you do have enough, that's when you truly become rich, regardless of what the external world is for you. And so let's dive right into what Wayne Dyer has to say. And he titles this extrapolation on the 33rd verse, this few-page chapter here, Living Self-Mastery. Because I think it seems like, or I agree with Wayne Dyer, that this 33rd verse of the Tao Te Ching was talking about that very thing, self-mastery. And so Wayne Dyer begins, in our contemporary world, an educated person is generally thought of as someone with several diplomas who's in a position to intelligently discuss all manner of topics, particularly in the academic field. In addition to amassing scholastic credits, highly learned people often understand and research out to help others. In fact, they seem to possess the ability to effectively read other people. The read was quote unquote, so like you can read, back to that empathy. You can kind of feel what people are feeling or see what it is that they might be going through without actually being, without asking or being told. You can kind of read other people. These individuals, power and status tends to increase in proportion to the number of men and women they oversee, such as with the president of a university, a CEO of a business, or a general of an army. In this 33rd verse of the Tao Te Ching, Lao-tzu is asking us to change the way that we look at these twin ideas of knowledge and power. And remember, this is change your thoughts, change your life. And that's the most key thing. If there's struggles, and there always is, and if there's frustrations, and there is, but when we can begin to change our thoughts, ladies and gentlemen, that will change our lives. It's something that needs to be pounded into us over and over until we really see the true power of this. Now, So Lao-tzu is asking us to change the way we look at these ideas of knowledge and power. And in turn, that will change the way we experience them. That was my little addition there. You're invited, Wayne Dyer continues, to elevate your level of self-mastery by turning your gaze inward and seeing the world and your place in it in a new light. And ladies and gentlemen, that's what all of this kind of work, the spiritual work, this mystical work, and this self-mastery, self-development kind of work is about going internal, becoming an internally directed person. And, you know, finding what it is that you're looking for outside of you and creating it and finding it inside of you and cultivating it by a new awareness, a greater understanding of the nature of reality and the world we live in and the way that our mind works and all of these things. Now let's continue. You see this in a new light. A Tao-oriented life focuses on understanding yourself rather than on thinking and behaviors of others. You shift from the acquisition of information and the pursuit of status symbols to understanding and mastering yourself in any and all situations. Power over others is replaced with an inner strength that empowers you to behave from a wisdom that is inherently the Tao, or connected to God, or the great force, or whatever it is that, you know, describes whatever it is that is blowing the wind and breathing our, you know, breathe. I'm not sitting here going, all right, breath in, you know, and whatever the processes are that happens in the body to make all of that happen. That's all just the universe. I mean, natural, like the tomato essence-ness of a seed, but in the seed, it's just that quiet dust, the brown dust, but that has the potential and the ability through some great, amazing force to become, you know, a sprout and a root and, you know, all of the things that leads to tomatoes, ladies and gentlemen. And so Wayne Dyer continues here. We're talking about working with this force. The power over others is replaced with an inner strength that empowers us when we start to master ourselves, because we behave from a wisdom that is inherently aligned with this great force. Now, as you modify your thinking, Wayne Dyer continues, your world will undergo pleasantly dramatic changes. Doesn't that sound nice? It's, you know, it's so funny because normally when people talk about dramatic changes, it's never a pleasant kind of change. But the more we work in these directions of personal and spiritual and, you know, self-development, it's like we begin to undergo these unexpected, pleasant changes in life. And it's like, wow. For example, Wayne Dyer continues, as you realize that you are responsible, this is so key here, responsible for your reactions in any given moment, others will cease to have any power or control over you. I'm loving this, because this goes into taking back your power through accepting the responsibility of your life. And that doesn't mean, you know, like, oh, I have all these responsibilities and everything's my fault. It's like, no, I did the best I could. I've responded with the ability that I believed that I have. And now I have a greater awareness, a greater understanding, and I can take back my power from everything else in the world that I've given it away to make me feel the way that I think things make me feel, when really we're choosing it ourselves. Through this process, when we modify our thinking, as we realize we are responsible, we can respond with ability for our reactions in any given moment, no judgment. Others will cease to have and other things and events will cease to have any power or control over you. Let that one sink in, because that is the key to self-mastery, self-actualization, ladies and gentlemen. This is like therapy. And Wayne Dyer was a therapist, I believe, psychologist, and he worked with many, many patients. And some of the stories are just so fantastic. But let us continue. He says, rather than worrying, something like, why is that person behaving that way and making me feel so upset? You can see the situation in a new way. I'll add this, like, instead of thinking, why is that person behaving that way and making me feel so upset? You can say, well, it isn't up to me to control how any person should behave, because that is part of their own path, their own growth, their own destiny, karma, dharma, just life. That it's part of their own life, and we're each working on our own life, and everybody's on their own path, so don't judge them. It's like, and then you begin to ask it in a new way. Instead of a judging, like, why is this person acting that way? You have a compassion, empathetic, like, what is this person going through to make them behave this way? And why are they making me feel so upset turns into, why am I thinking about it, about this and it in a way that I am choosing to feel upset about it? And that's great power. That's great responsibility, ladies and gentlemen. Most people go through their entire lives not ever even knowing that they have this power. And this is real magic. This is real magic, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you're getting value. If you are, leave me a comment and let me know what you think about this. And be sure to share this with somebody so we can change the lives and increase the quality of the lives of more people in the world. And maybe we'll begin to change our thoughts, change our life, and change the world. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let us continue. He goes, Wayne Dyer continues. He goes, so this, rather than worrying, why is that person behaving that way and making me feel so upset? You can see the situation as an invitation to explore yourself from a new attitude of self-mastery. Your inward exploration allows you to permit the flow of inner responses, examining them with tolerance directed towards yourself. See, this is a new process. Most people just think the internal flow is like, whoosh, whoosh, and and you can't examine it being impartial. You think every thought that pops into your head is exactly who you are. And it's like, you get to choose those things. You can kick some of them out. And the more you work on that, the more you work on, and this is what Marcus Aurelius was also talking about in his meditations to himself, is you have to be very keen at what thoughts you allow to be in your head. When somebody asks you, what are you thinking? Most of us are in a whirlwind. It's like a galaxy cloud of thoughts going on. We have, so many, and it's like, we don't know what we want to be thinking, first of all, what we want to be focused on, how we want to feel. It's like we haven't done any personal discovery, finding out who we are, and then fine-tuning the thoughts that we have in order to, go in the direction we want. I'll continue, sorry. But, examining them with tolerance directed toward yourself by seeking your stream of thoughts and simply going with them, the conduct of that other person instantly loses its potency. You begin seeing your world suffused with the harmony of the Tao, eternally and internally flowing through us. I think you could almost describe God or the Tao or this great force, great spirit, whatever it is that is being described all the time in this great wisdom of the Tao and even the wisdom of the ages. that all authors and poets seem to reference, regardless of what name they use for it, it seems to always be either harmony or nature. Harmony or nature. So maybe that's like the new word for it. So, you know, with the harmony of the Tao eternally flowing through us. In any situation, Wayne Dyer continues, whether it be under the heading of family, work, or social, or even just seeing the atrocities reported on the evening news, you'll become aware that there's no they who have power over you. Another one that needs to sink in, because this will change your entire life. You know, sometimes there's these points 20 minutes in or whatever into a video that it's like the one sentence that should have been what the whole video was, or what. I watch really long, you know, sometimes I watch 3-hour long videos like this with the guest and a host just talking about these kind of subjects, or sometimes more mystical subjects. But it's like, I always think there's like there's certain points that are just a few sentences hidden within the depth of the conversations that are extremely life-changing. And this point here on page 162 in this book, I think might be the most important thing for many people to get in the modern, media controlled society that we live in. It's like in any other situation, whether it be the family, work, social, or just seeing these terrible things that are constantly reported on the evening news, when you become aware, when you finally change the way that you look at the world, change your thoughts, change your life, when you become aware that there is no they who have any power over you, because you choose your thoughts, and then you get better at it the more that you practice. You become aware that there's no they, and by refusing to turn the controls of your experience, your existence, over to anyone or any set of circumstances, you are exercising, I'll add real magic, Wayne Dyer says, personal strength instead of force. You are indeed experiencing self-mastery, and this new state of internal control has come about because you've elected to live in accordance with the Tao, with the force. You don't need the approval of others or another possession, because we're always seeking after the approval to make us feel better. We want other people to say, "Oh, what a beautiful painting." That's one of the things that I deal with in my own life, and it's one of my facets of self-mastery that I need to continue to work on. Is I feel like if my paintings aren't purchased, then they're not appreciated, and it's discouraging. But I've come to a point to where I put less attention on just trying to sell paintings, and I'm trying to get more into what we're learning in the wisdom of the Tao and the wisdom of the ages, is being detached from the outcome and being in process, not doing something to get a result, not doing something to do something, so to speak, but doing something just to do it. Now that's a mind catch there, but if you know what I mean, like painting to paint, not painting to sell paintings, for example, or going for a walk just to walk and enjoy the walking, not going for a walk so that you can say you went for a walk every 5 days this week or whatever. It's like you missed the walk, you missed the appetizer or the meal because you were so focused on the dessert, or you didn't even taste your coffee because you need a second cup. It's like all of these kind of things. I love this. This is self-actualization, and at its highest level. I'm loving this stuff, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope you are. Consider smashing the like button and consider subscribing if you haven't already. You are indeed experiencing self-mastery if you could get to these levels that are being described by Wayne Dyer and myself and Lao-tzu here today. And we go beyond, when we've elected to live in accordance with the harmony, the nature of the Tao, you don't need the approval of others or another person in order to be happy. You don't need the, what was it that got me so, right here, the approval of others or another possession, because we're also seeking after things, material things to make us happier. For some people, it's vehicles, and that could be very expensive. That probably leads to a lot of scarcity in life. But so, you don't have to get the approval of others because you can create it yourself, and you don't have to get more possessions in order to be happy. You must merely understand yourself as a divine piece of the eternal Tao, the harmony, the nature, always connected to that infinite essence. But more practically, just being smart about the way that we think of life, changing our thoughts and changing our life. Here's what this great master, Lao-tzu, Wayne Dyer says, Lao-tzu equates the ability to look within for the source of enlightenment and strength with eternal life. And he thinks, so I said that with a bad wording there, or a bad, let me say that again. He equates the ability to look within for the source of enlightenment. So the ability to look within yourself, to find the source of peace, harmony, happiness, understanding, empathy, enlightenment. He equates that with eternal life. Powerful. He reminds us, Wayne Dyer continues, that while externals, such as knowledge and power over others, may provide a long life, shifting to being in charge of yourself offers imperishable wisdom and a ticket to immortality. Here's what this great master, Lao-tzu, and I will add the great master Wayne Dyer, the late Wayne Dyer, rest in peace to both of these wonderful, great teachers that have had such an impact on my life, and hopefully beginning to have an impact and continuing to have an impact on many lives. They say to us, focus on understanding yourself instead of blaming others. This is just so fantastic. I'm like, this, ladies and gentlemen, is great wisdom. Focus on understanding yourself instead of blaming others. Whenever you're anxious, in pain, or even mildly upset over the conduct of others, take the focus off those you're holding responsible for your inner distress. Sentences like that, or if you told someone, take the focus off those that you're holding responsible for your inner distress and you'll feel better. They'd be like, what? Huh? And this is about real magic, changing. I mean, like when you begin to get to these levels, you begin to experience an entirely new life. And so hopefully you get this wisdom as young as I have. This should have been elementary school stuff, but we all know how screwed up the education system is, and I don't even want to go into that. So, because we're learning the wisdom of the Tao and how to go beyond judgment of other things. And so, whenever you're anxious and pain or even mildly upset over the conduct of others, take the focus off of those things that you're holding responsible for your inner distress and shift your mental energy to allowing yourself, shift your thoughts if mental energy is too confusing for you, shift your thoughts to allowing yourself to be with whatever you're feeling. Just feel it. Like it's okay. It is okay. It is okay. But keep telling yourself it's okay. It's okay. And then you begin to eventually, that becomes subconscious. It's okay. Let the Tao flow freely. Let the harmony come into your life. Tune in with nature. I added those last two lines, harmony and nature, because every time the Tao is mentioned now, I'm like, harmony, nature, and it seems to make perfect sense. The great force, without blaming others for your feelings. And don't blame yourself either. That's key. Don't blame others for the feelings that you're having, and don't blame yourself either. And see if that doesn't make sense. Sit with that and meditate on that for a bit, and you'll start to get to a real different level. Now we continue. Wayne Dyer says, just allow everything to unfold. He said the Tao, just allow the Tao to unfold. Tell yourself that no one, this should be strong in your subconscious, no one has the power to make you uneasy, unhappy, disappointed, whatever, feel angry, upset, without your consent. What that means is you have to first say, okay, I'm going to feel this way. And then it seems really silly when people wallow in their own misery and begin to defend it, where you tell them it's not that bad or that they have another choice. And see, this could be an area some people are like, this guy pissing me off, telling me that I could just choose happiness. But I mean, I don't know, it just makes sense to me. I'm like, this is logical. This isn't an emotional debate here. It just makes logical sense that when we're giving the responsibility of our upsetness to something else, we have no power. And it's like, what kind of life is that? It's illogical. It's erroneous. That's probably why Wayne Dyer's first book was called Your Erroneous Zones. And it talks about this pretty much the whole book. It's dense, though. It's not as a, I don't know. This is much more light and wonderful kind of reading here. Focus on understanding yourself instead of blaming others. So we continue now. Telling yourself that no one has the power to make you uneasy without your consent, and that you're unwilling to grant that authority to this person right now. But you are willing to freely experience your emotions without calling them wrong or needing to chase them away. Flow in the Tao now, because it's Tuesday Tao, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope you're really getting value out of this. In this way, with the simple exercise at the moment of your dis-ease, see how both of those things are correlatories, buddies that tend to create each other. When you have no ease, when you have dis-ease, you begin to create dis-ease within your body. You've made a shift. See, so he's saying when you can make this shift to not grant the authority to external things to influence your thoughts, but you are willing to freely experience your emotions without calling them wrong or blaming yourself or needing to chase them away, and you just flow in the Tao now. In this way, with this simple exercise, you've made a shift to self-mastery. We could end the chapter there, but we still have about half a page here, and this has been such great wisdom. This might be one of the greatest ones yet. So I really hope you're loving this, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know if you are. So the number 2 thing here that these great masters want us to take from this verse and this extrapolation of the Tao Te Ching and apply to our world is cultivate your desire for others to discover this mastery, this in their lives. Wayne Dyer said, cultivate your desire for others to discover the Tao in their lives. Dismiss any desire to extend power over others through the forceful nature of your actions and your personality. Ego believes that others are incapable of running their own lives and wants to control with force. So demonstrate your inner strength by abandoning such tactics. Catch yourself as you're about to tell others how they should be, which is ironic because this entire video has been us, Wayne Dyer and Lao-tzu and me extrapolating on how others should be. So that's a catch-22, but you know what we're talking about here, ladies and gentlemen. So use the opportunity to practice allowing them to learn their own lessons without interference from you. And this is so tough with loved ones, because you really, I'm not a parent, but I bet this is the toughest challenge with raising children. It's like, do you let them learn their own lessons and make mistakes and fail and struggle? And because all of those things are the things that we want our loved ones, and especially our children, to avoid and not ever have to experience. But most often it is those things that cause the greatest levels of growth and advancement and, learning and wisdom and discovery in our lives. Whew, this is so good. Catch yourself as you're about to tell others how they should be. Use the opportunity to let people learn lessons without interference from you. Notice how often we attempt to use verbal force to convince others to listen to us, and then remind ourselves to remain quiet and just send loving energy. It reminds me of a song, all that you can do is wish them well. Just send that loving energy, hope that whatever it is that they're struggling with and going through is alleviated in some way through a greater comfort. I don't know, I'm always trying to, I think this is an empath thing, when you want other people to feel better all the time, but it's like, you can get way into trying to force it. And so notice how we're attempting to do this verbally, and remain quiet and send loving energy. Practice this kind of self-mastery, even though it's rare in today's world. You are strong enough to trust the Tao. When your judgments dominate, the flow of the Tao slows. So the force is like you become disconnected with the harmony or nature or the great force. I bet Star Wars fans love this kind of stuff. Talking about the force, man. You can tune in, it flows through you and is a part of all things. I forget the quote. It's such a good, there's good quotes in Star Wars for those of you that think it's just silly science fiction. It talks about this kind of great wisdom, and so do a lot of great movies and shows and entertainment kind of things throughout the ages. There's what's known as soft or subtle disclosure. For those who have the eyes to see, the ears to hear, and maybe the wisdom to understand. When judgments dominate, the flow slows. So see how the world truly changes right before our eyes when we sincerely desire that others flow and follow their own life paths, which will lead them to realize the greatness of the Tao. All those formerly perceived as needing you to tell them what or how to live are also the same as you are in the Tao's wisdom and strength, nature's wisdom and strength, in the wisdom and strength that there is in great harmony. And one of the beautiful reasons, I don't know, this whole chapter was so beautiful, so it's hard to say that the do the Tao now part is any better than the rest of it, but Wayne Dyer always gives us a practical way that we can try to apply this great, wonderful wisdom and put it into action in our lives today. And so at the end of each of these chapters, which is why you should get this book so you can have it for reference for yourself on your shelf. And if you don't have a bookshelf, then get yourself a shelf, because books are good. Books are good, ladies and gentlemen, especially these kind of books. He gives us, and I have this link below the video if you'd like to purchase it for yourself. He gives us what's called Do the Tao Now, Tuesday Tao. Today, ladies and gentlemen, Wayne Dyer says, practice experiencing the unfolding of the Tao with someone who usually causes you distress. Challenge. Consciously initiate a conversation with that in-law, ex-spouse, bullying co-worker, or family member, whatever, whoever it is, inviting the Tao to flow freely. And he says, notice how, what, and where you feel. He says, remain warmly, tolerantly in touch with the sensations within your body. Now see, this is mystical here. You've entered the space of self-mastery in this moment. Here's what A Course in Miracles offers on this verse of the Tao Te Ching. Quote, this is the only thing that you need to do for vision, happiness, release from pain. Say only this, but mean it with no reservations. I am responsible for what I see. I choose the feelings that I experience. Boom, ladies and gentlemen. That's a boom to knowledge. Holy cow. Oh, and then next week's is called Living the Great Way. Man, this is getting good, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to be on the 34th verse of the Tao Te Ching. Next week, this was the 33rd verse. One who understands others has knowledge, but one who understands himself has wisdom. That was a masterclass on self-mastery, ladies and gentlemen. Spiritual self-mastery, self-actualization. I think before I ramble on anymore, I'll leave it there. That was incredible. That's one of those subjects that just is the most important, that we should all learn from day one when we're when we're infants, going to infant college. I'm kidding, but you know what I mean. Like as early as possible in life, we need to learn that chapter, that verse of the Tao Te Ching, and of change your thoughts, change your life, living the wisdom of the Tao. Ladies and gentlemen, if you got value, consider subscribing, smash the like button, and leave me a comment. Let me know that you watched. I don't really know who watches, and I like to give shout outs every now and then to those of you that do leave comments. I really appreciate it. It means the world to me. And I love all of you, but I love you especially if you would take time out of your day to spend time with not just me, but Dr. Wayne Dyer, Lao-tzu, and all the wonderful authors and poets in the wisdom of the ages. And continue, ladies and gentlemen, to seek to achieve and maintain happiness through enlightenment. Continue to seek to discover the hidden wisdom of the ages. Because if we can make happiness the way, then the goal that we've so long been striving for becomes irrelevant, because we're already where we want it to be, ladies and gentlemen. So begin making happiness the activity and the way, what you bring to life. It's not a result, it's a process. And we'll leave that there. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Be sure to expand the description below the video. I've got links to my Etsy shop, CLC Paint, and I've got links to the book, as well as C60 Purple Power, the most powerful antioxidant known to man. I'm really a big fan of C60. Does good things, and it'll change your life too. So check that out, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate it. Love you all. And like Rex always says, be the change that you want to see in the world. Because when you start to be the example out there, and others start to see a good example, it might create a chain reaction. And we might create a more beautiful, more harmonious world. A better quality of life for everybody. All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back tomorrow with Wednesday Wisdom.